There are two requirements to enable our annotation groups. First, the DGN library that we're building these annotation groups and definitions in must be enabled by this configuration variable, civil content management DGN lib list. The second requirement is the annotation groups need to be attached to feature symbologies, or when you are annotating sheets, selected at that time. So there's two possible options there. We're going to cover here under our feature symbologies, for example, our alignments. If we look at Geom baseline delivered, we right click and select properties. There's an entry where you will select your annotation group. And so in our case, we want to use the 100-foot spacing. And so that would give us our annotation in our 2D plan view. Notice that we also can set the same or a different annotation group in 3D. Typically, your 3D annotation groups are used for survey features. But you must either assign an annotation group to a feature symbology or select the annotation group when creating your sheets, such as your cross-section sheets or your profile sheets. You will have the ability there to select your annotation groups as well. Also, when you are creating your geometry in a file and you draw geometry, one of the options you will have is to override that geometry once it's placed. And so when you go to your drawing production and you select to annotate an element, if you select override annotation group, then you can also select an annotation group that you have defined here. A good example of this might be perhaps you have 100-foot station spacing assigned automatically to Geom baseline, but yet when you go to annotate Geom baseline, you don't want 1,000 or 100-foot spacing, you want 1,000-foot spacing. And so then you can turn on your annotation override group when you get ready to annotate that geometry and select the other annotation group. And so you can override what is assigned to the feature symbology. And each of these feature symbologies will have options to assign that particular annotation group. For example, here is your profile annotation. If I had a point, feature symbology, I could assign annotation to a point feature symbology, and etc. So the annotation groups, again, in summary, can be assigned to the feature symbology. They can be selected when you create sheets, or they can be used to override when you go to annotate.